Afternoon's discussion of Night's Watch, which will focus on Pulp Fiction. The focus of our clinical attention begins with Vincent, and that includes his relationship with Jules, and maybe how these two, who are demographically similar, at least in age and sex, do or have very different paths, and some of the things that might be contributing to that. So, past psychiatric history. A developmental history is something that we would definitely inquire about, especially in as much as they may explain the behavior that we observe in the film Pulp Fiction. And thinking about things biopsychosocially, one social aspect of behavior would include spirituality, and clearly Jules is someone who incorporates that.
Yeah, about that, because you are speaking about spirituality, how Jules is always saying Ezekiel, I think, 25:17, and then he said that he would just say it because it was, like, badass, and he thought it was just cold to say that and then kill somebody, but then he starts to believe it. Like, what's up with that? So you could just say something and then eventually do start believing it?
What's the precipitant then, right? Remember, we not only talk about biopsychosocial, but what predisposes, precipitates, and perpetuates human behavior. And what you're really focusing on, what your question really pertains to, is the precipitant. What's the precipitant to all this? Why this new lease on life? The reinterpretation of Ezekiel, or that passage in the Bible.
Near-death experience.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Now, we talked about this, I don't know if it was last week or the week prior. I think it was the week prior. And that this is not clinically accurate. This is not evidence-based. And we talked about it from the context of another genre, another franchise, and that was the Saw franchise, and how this is something similar to what John Kramer employs, and there just isn't any consistent evidence in the literature to support the idea that individuals who are brought through these experiences will have a devout change for the positive. Right? For purposes of John Kramer, there are multiple victims of his that are in those traps that die. And those that survive, the vast majority go on to do worse, not better. But Elijah is an outlier. He actually has a change for the positive, or at least on the surface, a change for the positive.
Something else about Vincent's character that I like is, I guess my favorite scene in the movie is when they shoot Marvin in the face in the car, and he shoots him and he's like, I just shot Marvin, and gets like mad about it. So I was thinking like response to trauma, like he very much like that whole scene of like shooting Marvin in the face and then calling the wolf or whoever comes, to me was like kind of a metaphor for how they like intellectualize trauma instead of actually using it. Obviously when Jules has like this near-death experience, that becomes like a catalyst for change. But this is a moment where in a lot of movies maybe would be a catalyst for change, but we see Vincent like really stay the same and like not just stays really like emotionally like cold, flat, and like you see him not just his like response to trauma kind of implies that he like stays unchanged as a character.
Yeah. And I think when we begin to discuss responses to trauma, we're also going to discuss the defense mechanisms of the ego. Before I get into anything deeper with Vincent, I keep on calling him Elijah. It's Jules. Maybe we'll just assign Unbreakable as soon as next week, and I can get that over with. But pertaining to Vincent, you mentioned intellectualization or intellectualizing. In this immediate response, which is going to be processed through the hypothalamus, it can be difficult for individuals to actually be in the here and now. Now, Vincent is someone who's done this before, so this might be a little different, but on shelf exams, it may play out where an individual looks like they have inappropriate affect, right? They have an affect that does not seem to be congruent with their immediate situation. That doesn't necessarily mean it's abnormal, right? It certainly could be adaptive. Isolation of affect is one of those defenses that can actually explain this. So the individual in the midst of a trauma may take their affect, separate it from the idea of Marvin just being shot, and then isolate the affect into their unconscious. Right? And that allows them to talk about what just happened, including the procedure of getting the wolf involved. but be emotionally distant from that discussion. Again, as a third person observer, as a clinician, we may think this is an abnormal reaction. We'd expect it to be much more emotional, and kind of superficially that might be true. But I think when you understand the complexity of human behavior in general and how human behavior may be adapted in these very specific situations pertaining to trauma, this happens more often than not. So isolation of affect would be one consideration for an ego defense. Intellectualization would be another that we see play out here as well. But what we're really talking about are defense mechanisms in response to the traumatic event, in this case, shooting Marvin in the face.
I was curious, what is that book that he's always reading? Isn't he reading the same book in multiple scenes?
Pulp Fiction.
Not sure. I think I haven't read it for that. I don't know.
No, I mean,
Is it?
What I
Is
read,
it?
because I don't know, well, I watched the movie like a while ago, or I've watched it a few times, is that like the metaphor for why it was called Pulp Fiction is one, because it's like all these like pulpy stories, and then two, that was like just a placement, because like Pulp Fiction is like what they would call those like cheap books, because it was like books so cheap they were made out of pulp. It was like, you know, like things you find like at the airport. So I think that was a Quentin Tarantino joke.
Yeah, 'cause he
of
bought
being
it
like,
when
he's reading Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, it was. He read it when he died. He
Yeah,
read
and
it,
reading
like,
on the toilet.
On the toilet when.
It's like
the
meaningless
robbery.
fiction that has like no real like plot. Like the movie.
Yeah, alright, makes sense.
I don't know if that's the real answer, but I read that on Reddit.
It probably is. It Reddit's reliable.
Did we talk about Butch and his watch yet, or no?
Not yet.
Okay. So what did you think about that scene when he realized like his watch wasn't there in, I guess, the motel room or whatever, and he was going like, I don't want to say batshit crazy, but he was. And he was going crazy. And he was angry. And he was throwing things out, and then his girlfriend slash lover slash wife, fiance, whatever, partner. Like she got really scared of him, like as if she would be physically abused by. Like, what did you think about that scene?
Yeah. So again, a lot here to unpack with regard to the subplot of Butch. Well, let's break it down. What's the group consensus? What are some thoughts about his initial reaction? I think you described his anger.
I thought it was like understandable, knowing the context of like the watch had was passed down to make sure he got it. I've lost things and I've gotten like that. Like I lost my PS5 controller, and that's like it's a lot of money, you know.
It's like
but
a level.
I think he took it though to another level that I was scared too. But what I never understood is that if that watch is that important, why wouldn't you pack it yourself? Like I wouldn't let my siblings pack something that important. I would do it myself, like my jewelry. If it was a gift, I'd pack it myself so I know where it is. Because then you crash out and then, yeah, I don't know why didn't he just pack it himself.
I didn't know because the boxing fight, because you can't be having a watch on while you're boxing, and you want to keep it like in the locker or whatever, because it's like that.
But he left it in his apartment, so they had to pack. Remember, either way to move. So she was like, "Oh, didn't you put it in the bag or whatever?"
Yeah, that's
I don't
true.
know. I would have
Yeah.
made
Yeah,
sure.
you would think that he would have been the one to put it in the bag.
Yeah.
I thought that was really frustrating to then get so upset with her out of something that honestly shouldn't have been her responsibility in the first place. If this is so valuable to you, don't put that on someone else.
Well, I think an exacerbation of emotion that's directed towards somebody that really isn't responsible or should not have been responsible is quote-unquote normal behavior. It's going to happen day in and day out. And the anger in and of itself, I think your initial impression of it being a quote-unquote normal response is also accurate. But you do bring up some interesting comments and questions, and that is, if so important, and we understand why, right? It's his only connection to his father, right? Which, by the way, can explain a lot of his other behavior too, including why something so important would be left to the responsibility of another person, right? So my gut says that the answer to the question why there is somehow contained in that same scenario of his relationship with his father. So that's something and I don't know what it is, but again, if this were something that were recurrent, that resulted in, let's say, anxiety, depression, for which somebody, maybe we'll name him Butch, comes to clinical attention, that's something we have to consider to delve into, whether it's in a psychotherapy session or whether it's part of just talking about their anxiety or depression. Listen, there's a lot of reasons why people go into boxing as a career, and there's a lot of reasons why people will cheat. even when the potential risks of doing so are life-threatening. If we begin to really shrink this down, my gut says is that the origins of that also are probably going to be grounded in those early childhood experiences, and bang, we're back to his father again. Right, so I don't know. I did not look at his wiki. I don't know if there's anything about his bio with regard to not only the relationship that Butch has with his parents, but his father in particular. But that watch is very symbolic. Right? It's nothing more than a materialistic symbol of the relationship of his father, who is obviously deceased.
Before we move on from the watch too quickly, so would you say that his reaction was a fair one? Because watching that scene, I felt so uncomfortable, because I feel like his intense emotions are completely fair. However, he did start to get violent, and I was wondering if that may be like, okay, now this is a concern.
Yeah. That's the way I would take it. I think initially, to be empathetic, we're in a situation in which there are two very imminent scenarios that may play out. Either I have lost the last link back to my father, or I go after it and likely die, given what I just did. Right? The plan was to get out of LA as quick as possible, and now I either walk that back and put myself in imminent danger. And again, fight or flight, there's a major fear response following that fight. And now I'm walking right back into the teeth of the lion. And if I want to flight instead, if my hypothalamus is kicking me over to flight, I will lose that last link that ever existed. And the only thing I have left of my father are my memories. That is what is impacting him in the immediacy, which is why we see that emotion. Now, when that emotion comes out, we see a reaction that suggests that there might be a history of violence. Right? So, and that's different. Right? Now we're talking about something that is quite different, which is never considered to be normal, at least in this context. And that's a different conversation. I don't know if that's because of the relationship that they've shared together, or whether he has been the sweetest guy in the world, and she has a past history of physical trauma. We don't know. But if we were to truly analyze this scene, that's obviously a question we would want to ask.
But then, like, directly after that, when he goes and tries to find that watch, like, leaving her at that motel, why does he go on that, like, shooting spree? Like, what was the correlation between the watch and then his, like, continual, like, shooting?
Which shooting spree?
Like, he goes to his apartment, and then he finds, I forgot his name.
Vincent, yeah.
There, and he kills him.
Yeah.
And then after that, he leaves, and then he basically shoots a bunch of people going out.
You mean when he meets
Marcellus.
Marcellus?
Yeah, he runs, yeah.
Well, they were gonna kill him.
Yeah.
Kill
him.
him.
Yeah.
Marcellus is the man who's going to kill him.
He didn't throw the fight like he was supposed to.
Yeah. He betrayed them, so they're trying to find. That's why Vincent was at his apartment. He's trying to find.
He like ran into him on accident.
Yeah,
You know, when he like, pulls up in the car.
Well, no. Then he
Yeah.
saw Marcellus, and then
Yeah.
he went
Yeah, he said-
went for
Yeah.
a purpose.
That whole thing was insane.
Yeah.
That all happens one day. Oh my god.
Oh, okay, as a psychiatrist, unfortunately, we have to go there.
Can we talk about, okay, Marcellus has a gun, okay? Butch is right there, okay? And he decides, you better not tell anybody, and you can leave. What? Why? Because this
He
guy
saved
would...
him.
He could have walked out.
You could have saved. I mean,
He
yeah.
could've- yeah, you
He
could've walked
saved
out.
him.
could've
He
just
saved
left.
him, but at the same time, he could have killed him. No one would have known what happened to him.
Yeah, some.
It's either way. That's
To your point, if Marcellus killed him anyway, you're saying, I don't know if we'd be surprised.
yeah.
I thought he was going to do it, honestly.
Yeah, that's what
I thought he was gonna.
Yeah, when he turned around and came up behind him, I made him shoot him.
Marcellus's character does demonstrate a very pervasive pattern that is demonstrative of a disregard for and violation of others' rights. There's no doubt about that. But in this case, because of what happened, he has a very brief, lucid interval and allows Butch to leave. We're good. Don't you ever show your face around here again.
Not to diagnose him with one that we do not diagnose people with in Night's Watch. Why are we calling it lucid as opposed to just a set pattern of thinking? Why is this now lucidity here?
I would only because of the little snippet of time that we see or know. And he's rumored to have thrown Tony out of a window because of some behaviors that he didn't necessarily agree with pertaining to Uma Thurman's character. So he does demonstrate this pervasive disregard for others' rights. But in this case, it sounds like there's an exception to the rule, hence my use of the term lucid. Now, that said, we have to be open-minded and be flexible. And if we had interviewed Marcellus, if he had come to clinical attention, and we provide him with a 1-hour psychiatric evaluation, and we see that, no, this is not a rare occurrence, that he's actually had a number of times where he's been empathetic, then sure, I'm okay with that.
Go a little more like Godfather-esque. It's like they have like their own moral code that they kind of stand by, so it's like a level of respect. Like he'd helped him, so he's not gonna take his life for that. But like at least give him that like that, even though like I don't know honor among thieves, but like it's like a code that kind of lives by himself.
The other part of this too is one of the reasons why that code is employed is that if it ever gets out that Butch did this in terms of stealing the money, it would really, really harm the lore of this character. He may not have nearly as much power doing what he's doing on the streets. He's been taken. He was a fool. He got beat. So what the community needs to know is that when you do this to Marcellus, there's a price to pay. I think one of the things that allowed him to make the decision that he did, and it still surprises me that he did it, is that if it ever got out from Butch that this happened, or in some way, shape, or form, his street cred would be just as damaged. Right? So, I mean, killing him would have made sense here, but I think that there's some aspect of this where he trusted, for whatever reason, he trusted Butch, and if anything came up, Butch is there to say that never happened.
Do you think like maybe he saved him because like it was gonna scare people, like a messenger, like scare people?
It could be, right? And this is a Tarantino thing, right? We've seen this in Kill Bill, right? I'm going to spare your wicked life, right? She lets Sophie live just so that her disfigurement can be a reminder that you don't mess with the Black Mamba.
So do you make the argument that it wasn't so much an act of empathy, but it was he saw opportunity to gain more power in the situation?
Yeah, you could definitely make that.
So like it's more manipulative than it is.
It certainly could be, yeah. Yeah.
Which way do you lean towards?
I would lean towards that. Now that you brought that up, and again, reminding me that this is a Tarantino motif. We've seen this in other films of his, that you do allow somebody off so they could be a constant reminder of what happens to you if. Yeah, no, that tracks.
Because I was thinking about Kill Bill, actually. That's why I thought about that. Yeah.
Talking about Kill Bill, Mia, I just think, I don't know, I love her. I just find it insane that Marcel would just say Vincent, like, oh, just go take her out. Did he never even think that might have happened between them? Like, oh, just take her out to eat. Maybe he trusts Vincent that much, I guess.
I thought it was a test.
I thought it was a test, honestly. Yeah. I mean, Vincent even said it in the bathroom to himself. He's like, this is a test. Do not do anything, just say to go home.
He knows his wife, like he knows what she's capable of.
Yeah, so that's why I was surprised, because I'm like, I think he would know that she would try to do it, but I guess maybe he doesn't care that much if they were, like, from her side, more of Vincent's side.
What is she overdosing on? Just to get to some teaching points.
Oh no.
Heroin.
But they bagged it differently, so she thought it was still
cocaine.
Yeah.
It looked like.
Because he's out of the balloons.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's
She
right.
thought she was doing cocaine because it was bagged like coke.
Yeah.
But when she did a line, it was heroin.
It was heroin.
And that's
Any
Is that
relevance?
accurate? That was nuts.
Any relevance there?
probably for like substance abuse
Substance abuse.
disorder and like having like cut drugs.
Anything more?
Depressant?
No, I mean, getting to the fact that she thought it was stimulants.
Well, she was doing it earlier too. She, like right before they left for the date, when like he was getting a drink, she was upstairs and taking a line.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think she actually wanted to sleep with Vincent though? I don't know. I've been feeling she didn't.
I don't think so. I think, okay, I don't want to read too much into her character. I really enjoyed her character personally. I feel like maybe she just gets a kick out of that kind of thing. I feel like you wouldn't marry a man like Marcelo if you didn't enjoy kind of like people getting hurt for you. So not only her going along with the man who allegedly got thrown out a window, and then also flirting with Vincent on the date, like saying you're gonna dance with me, you're gonna come home with me, you're gonna have a drink with me. I feel like it's kind of just her personality and something that she enjoys more so than it is she's actually interested in these men.
Yeah.
Or she's on the test. She's like
Yeah, right.
in with Marcellus and like she's trying to like vet Vincent to see how loyal he is.
Do you guys think she's trying to feel something?
Yeah.
Like maybe that's why she's going. Like that's why she does what she does, just because she can't feel anything anymore. She's numb. That might be why she married him too, because she's numb to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Just getting back to her drug use, just to make sure we have some teaching points pertaining to the shelf exam. Cocaine is a stimulant. You should be able to identify stimulant intoxication basically as a panic attack.
Yeah.
Right? So for all intents and purposes, a panic attack on a shelf exam or even an acute MI is cocaine or stimulant intoxication until proven otherwise. Mm-hmm. Withdrawal matches up almost perfectly with a major depressive episode. Right? The added, and I don't know if you'll be spoon-fed this, but certainly the additional criterion of vivid dreams is something. Yeah, that comes up a lot, right? As specific to stimulant withdrawal. On the other hand, heroin or opioid intoxication, slurred speech, pinpoint pupils, respiratory distress. That said, there is one opioid that will actually dilate the pupils and not constrict them. What is it?
Yeah, the medical student as well. Isn't the amphetamines?
Which one?
Like the amphetamines? Are you asking? But it's stimulant.
No. This is an opioid.
I googled it. Is it morphine or no?
Meperidine, Demerol, right? Because of the significant anticholinergic toxicity,
Yeah.
right? So in real life, it's going to happen a fraction of the time. On a shelf exam, it's 50-50.
How often do people like abuse that though? Meperidine.
Well, I think with fentanyl and heroin and our epidemic, it's changed.
Yeah.
So relatively speaking, not as much.
Yeah.
But shelf exam, 50-50. It's
Yeah.
either going to be meperidine or not. So bottom line is this. If you see slurred speech, respiratory distress, depression, don't quickly rule out that this isn't either intoxication or overdose with an opioid because the pupils are dilated. Because it could be meperidine.
Okay.
Right. And then withdrawal from these substances, heroin and other opioids, would look like the flu, right?
Yeah.
Right. Now, when you pair the two together, cocaine and heroin, you're going to get a sympathetic hypertonicity followed by a parasympathetic surge from the heroin, and that's going to cause sudden cardiac death. Right? There's been more than one actor, entertainer that have done this. They've been in the news a lot, especially through our epidemic. That's a speedball. Cocaine, that's exactly what happens to her. Yeah. I know that it's quote unquote adrenaline, but what could Vincent have given her to reverse the effects of the heroin overdose? Yeah, that's going to come up on an exam too, right? Mu opioid antagonist. So that's something to consider here
And actually,
too.
after I watched the movie, I googled if naloxone was commercially available at that time. It was not.
No.
So I was like, why don't they have naloxone? I think this drug called naloxone. It was not available in the early 90s.
Yeah. All right. Anything else with Mia?
I usually get confused when would we use lorazepam or benzo, like in terms of intoxication or withdrawal. I'm not sure which one.
For a substance?
Yeah.
So, I think there's two answers to that. One is that for substitution therapy, any withdrawal from alcohol and or sedative hypnotic, number one, right? On the other hand, anytime an individual is agitated, you can consider using a benzodiazepine, and that includes intoxication states, as well as, and that's more often, right? You think of hallucinogen, PCP. But there are some withdrawal states too where there's agitation where you could consider a benzodiazepine as well. That's a little bit more a general sense, and it's certainly not substitution therapy, right? So, two-pronged answer for substitution therapy, 2 withdrawal states, and then basically the other scenario would be any agitated state. You could consider a sedative.
So we can consider it in case of cocaine overdose or cocaine intoxication or the amphetamines intoxication. Right?
Stimulant intoxication is a very common example, right? Stimulant intoxication is addressed through quote-unquote supportive care, quiet environment, less lit environment, benzodiazepines, right? Sedatives.
When you said benzodiazepines for alcohol withdrawal, is that not dangerous because it's a double depressant? Like when you're not supposed to take alcohol? Really? Interesting.
Now, I mean, you'd be very careful of providing the benzodiazepine when there's a blood alcohol level. But once that blood alcohol level begins to decrease and your patient begins to go through withdrawal, then you better act. And either they have to drink again, which of course we'll never recommend, or you're going to give them alcohol in pill form, and that's called a benzodiazepine.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else with this character? What other characters? Pulp Fiction and other things you've seen.
I found Jules to be really interesting because I was kind of just shocked that he had this revelation because he just seems like, well, he's such a horrible person. Like he just kills people with no remorse, and then just from one occurrence, he immediately decides that's it. Like I'm done. I'm retiring. Like I'm gonna, be good now. Like I just found it surprising that it just suddenly switched.
There's one other potential explanation for that nobody's picked up on yet. I'm a little, not that I'm surprised, but I'm a little surprised.
I have a question related to the morning topic. Can I ask about it?
A morning? We'll hold off on that until we're gonna log off in a little bit.
Yeah.
I think I need a hint.
I don't know.
It's more from a producer's perspective than as a psychiatrist.
About why he needed.
Why this change of heart?
Because he needed an ending of the movie.
True, but no.
I don't know. You need to walk into
Those robbers in the restaurant, he helps them out rather than just killing
Is it
them off.
because of money wise? Because they couldn't get Samuel L. Jackson for a long time?
I would say if we're going to producer wise, to show the dichotomy of the character and get character growth, to show you can be reformed, you can be a good person, and then look how he is now a good person compared to these people.
Well, I agree with that.
Like a really religious person, is that why they?
Well, clearly, again, we talked about his developmental history. My gut says is that he probably, if not went to Catholic school, certainly has a history that is different than Vincent's.
I also noticed at the end, or not the end, but with the Butch storyline, in that one Vincent dies, but Jules isn't with him in that storyline. So he kind of, at that point, I guess maybe he did stop doing he stopped this kind of life and he moved on, which is why Vincent is by himself in that apartment.
Could be.
But then isn't that other part when I don't remember which scene because every scene was so confusing for me. But they were shooting the guy sitting in a chair, and then the person jumped out from the bathroom, and then he missed him with all the bullets, and he was like, "This is divine intervention." Could that have also been?
Well, that was his reaction to it. Yeah.
Yeah, but there's the fun dramatic irony of the guy being in the bathroom so nervous, he's a dork, he's not gonna make a shot. As a viewer, you know.
Do you really?
Yeah, I
It was
think
the way he
was
dribbled down.
How do you miss every shot?
Yeah, every single
Well,
one.
go with that.
Go with it.
Yeah, I think from a producer perspective, we have to consider that he didn't miss.
Like he had to hit like
Oh,
the,
so
the,
you think it's
the,
red?
it doesn't make sense. The bullet holes are literally behind them in the wall, and they're standing there.
They're like,
Like, it doesn't make any sense.
I mean, if you do the deep dive on what's in that suitcase, it's consistent with perhaps they're not
Wait,
missing.
what is in the suitcase? They never even show it.
We have to get on Reddit for that.
Okay. So
Pulp Fiction Reddit is so content is so good.
There's a lot there.
I thought it was gold.
But suffice it to say that it's consistent with the conspiracy theory that maybe he didn't miss. Right? Maybe this is like a Dante's Inferno, where he's now has to figure it out for purgatory, which of course would change a lot of people's hearts.
Is there some connection to Greece here, or is this just
Not
a
that I know of. I don't even think Reddit's ready for that.
No, this is just like a common thing that sometimes appears in
Well,
movies.
that's the reason why I said what I said. Usually interns are always reconsidering what's reality and what may have happened. Which, and then when you said the quiet part out loud of, wait a minute, there was bullet holes literally behind his head. It's physically impossible for that to miss. Well, maybe it's because it didn't miss.
Yeah.
And maybe after that scene, we're seeing a completely different realm.
I just thought it was plot armor.
Yeah.
I thought that.
Like Stormtrooper aim.
So if he's dead, he's just going through afterlife, but Jules is with him like in his imagination? Okay.
So I guess Marvin didn't actually die.
Good for Marvin.
Right.
Yeah.
We're all happy to get Marvin
Wait, no,
back.
but if Jules, so if Jules dies,
Then
right?
Vincent did it.
Yeah, then wouldn't Marvin be dead if the guy in the bathroom be dead? Because he died, Vincent died later, so we can't.
No, but it's when they brought him the car,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
Samuel Jackson would have been driving the car.
Yeah.
Yeah, Vincent would be driving, so they wouldn't be able to
Oh
shoot
my god, I
that.
don't like this.
Exactly. Yeah, so
That was real.
Tarantino's genius here is that there's obviously a lot of intertwining plots, but now we have to take that and have like another rubric added to it, and that is this alternate kind of universe where he died, and what does that mean as these plots now intertwine at that level? And I don't know the answer to that because I have to rewatch it now with that in mind. Right? I mean, any reference to Dante's Inferno or other works that actually reveal that the character's been dead the whole time would be very helpful. But again, I have to rewatch and actually watch. Now, and on Reddit, there's reason to believe, and this is actually it predates Reddit. This was like oral tradition back when this there was a lot of rumors that what was in that suitcase is a soul.
Oh.
A soul.
So what are they, Grim Reapers?
A soul of who?
Wait,
That question is a little bit more complex now.
if he was dead, then when he went to the, is that why when he went to the diner, there was like Marilyn Monroe in them? Maybe he was seeing them in the afterlife.
Was
When he
Oh,
went
I
to the
guess
diner
that-
with
I
Mia,
guess that
they were
was.
like the impersonators, the Marilyn Monroe. Who else? All those.
Those old actors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that were dead.
So
Maybe they weren't actors.
could Tarantino actually be like him actually them being in the film after they kill him show like it's something like outside of the movie realm? There's so much stuff you can just pull, like you could just.
Can I ask a question about Tarantino? What's your opinion on his from a psych perspective, his self-inserts as a character into films?
I just think that's very Hitchcockian.
I
Again,
not the
first of all, for all
yeah,
again, for
yeah.
just for full disclosure, I have not ever spoken to Quentin Tarantino. I would love to curbside him, right? But unfortunately, we have not yet crossed paths.
Right.
And I'm sure his bodyguards would prevent me from ever really talking to him. That said, I know that, I've seen several producers really take on the role of Alfred Hitchcock in terms of doing that.
Yeah.
So clearly that's a model, and if you could model yourself after Hitchcock, why wouldn't you?
Yeah, you're right.
Right? As a producer, you want to be, you'd want your name to be in the same sentence as Alfred Hitchcock. So that's my initial gut anyway.
I think such a curious person.
All right, guys, we're going to leave it here. And then we'll log onto Zoom for those following at home for our afternoon case conference. Thanks.